Oh, thank God. There's one person who wants to just say, God is, God is, God is, God is. I mean, it's really funny in a certain way, but really amazing. This is the function of this teaching, the teaching which we may call a teaching of is, just the two letters, I-S, is. And it is just as simple as the revelation which brought the infinite way into existence, also a two-letter word, as, A-S, as. God is expressed, manifest as you and me. God is appearing as your being and my being. God is appearing as. God manifests as this universe. There is no selfhood apart from God, since God appears as this universe. There is no condition apart from God, since God appears as the substance and activity of the universe. God appearing as logically leads up to God is, has no point of comparison, since it always, eternally, immortally is what it is, and that is love. It is not some degree of human good, nor is it some degree of human evil. It is harmony, joy, eternally, immortally, infinitely is. God is. There is not good law or bad law. There is only God is. There is not good or strong power, not good or evil power. There is only power. God is. There is no power to oppose anything, so there is no use praying to it to overcome our enemies, no use praying to it to overcome sin or sinful desires or appetites, no use praying to it to overcome disease, since there is only one power, and the power that is love. We must be arriving now. We must be arriving now at a state of a condition of being called is. And we must rest in that is, as is. We have no evil to oppose or from which to be protected, and we do not have to pray in order to get to God to do something for us, since God, good, already is. If deep within us we can feel a responsive agreement, beautiful. That is our prayer, our treatment, and our communion with God. One in essence, one in cause, one in effect, one infinite good. It really takes something to reconcile, doesn't it? In the stillness of is this morning, a couple of memories came forward. As a 20-something-year-old person, I was a home health nurse, a hospice home health nurse in rural Eastern Oregon before cell phones. And I would get my assignments for the day, and I would often drive, 45, 50 miles into the sticks, as we say here, into the sticks to see if there was any way I could be of assistance to people living in some very extreme circumstances, mostly at the end of their lives. But there were other times where I would be asked to do protective visits, sometimes for seniors, sometimes for kids. Children Protective Services, they called it. And I've always had a real wondering from the time I could remember about wondering, how it is that if you look deep inside and actually go to the heart of whatever you are, there's only love, and yet there's horrible, horrible things. Like, that's always been so puzzling here. And it would be really brought forward during these years of child protective services. So there was a time I went into a home, and the parents have rights, they call them parental rights. And then there's babies. I'm not going to go into it. And I would do what they called like an assessment, a protected visit assessment, and leave the babies there. I'd go out to my car, and I didn't grow up in a religious environment, so I really had no concept of sin, or really had ever even heard the word out of anyone's mouth, really. But this one time I got out to my car and I thought, I'm sinning. I have to drive out of this driveway with those babies in that house because those parents have rights. And I just couldn't take it. And it brought up this question. He brought up this question. And I felt somehow responsible, sorry. And impotent. So go out for another visit. And this time the person who was really sort of in charge of and perpetrating the most of the what we called abuse was there. And I was sitting in a chair. It was just he and I. I was sitting in a chair and he was sitting in a chair. And I had the distinct knowing that he wanted to harm me. And I'm way out in nowhere land, you know, as child pornography rings tend to be. And I'm way out in just middle of nowhere. And I'm, you know, 20-something-year-old young woman. And I'm getting the distinct feeling that I should leave. But there was also this like sense of just sit for just a few more minutes, just sit. And in these homes of people, I was already pretty practiced at being very neutral. That's what you practice in these kind of situations. You can't go in there high and mighty and doing a lot of judging in somebody else's home. You're not going to get anywhere. So I was already pretty practiced at that, at just sitting, being with what is. But I also had this real feeling of like, ooh, I'm pretty sure this guy wants to harm me. And something, not Jennifer, who was really actually pretty scared and freaked out, something looked deeply into his eyes. Not on purpose, you see, not with an agenda. It just was a looking deeply into his eyes. And what looked back was infinity. I mean, the origin of being. I wouldn't have known. I mean, I just was like, and there was this person sitting there wanting to harm me, harming many children, and this penetrating recognition. I don't know how to say it. It was, I had no context for it whatsoever. A meeting, a true meeting of the ground. I wouldn't have known those words at all. I probably would have said infinity. It's as close as I would have been able to come. I got up and left because the guy really was intent on hurting me. But strangely, when I got in my car, strangely, unexpectedly, and not part of my personal reaction system, I felt this deep sense of love. It was so incongruent. It was so out of nowhere, unmanufactured, not manufactured, not created, not in the cause and effect realm. Not in the cause and effect realm. Because in the cause and effect realm, horror, absolute horror. And I've contemplated that for many years. This particular contemplation that I'm trying to give voice to this morning has been, and I'm sure with all of you. And then, many years later, through lots of other situations where this contemplation revealed, but still there was no context. And there was still so much belief and reaction, understandably so, to all of it, that it couldn't really break through. And then during the, nuclear shift here in the view, it became so clear that what I just read, what Joel Goldsmith said so perfectly, love is. We are that. And everything that appears otherwise is false. I'm not saying that it's not real. I'm not saying those babies, I'm not going to walk into that home and go, don't worry, it's not real. Just an illusion. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that if we are to, as he said, it's not going to help. And this was part of the contemplation. It's not going to help to pray for something else. Has it ever helped? Look at the world. There's been people praying a long time in every manner possible, diligently, devotedly, I mean, beautifully. I'm not judging it. I'm just saying it's not the root. It's not the root. Things are only ever transmuted at what he was calling the communion, the responsive agreement to be as is. And what does that involve? Well, that involves the dissolution of the sense of a personal selfhood. It just does. A stillness. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still. Be. Something kept me in my chair. And in that stillness, beyond, you better hightail it out of here. This guy is going to hurt you. Somehow. And I will never know, because the Bodhisattva is not interested in knowing or being a Bodhisattva, and is not at all threatened by the complete absence of anyone or anything called a Bodhisattva. I will never know what, if any, ripple came from that meeting. But beyond reason and hope and imagination and all of that, I know in that moment, God is. Ever. Always. Only. So, yeah, I wanted to just, I think I've skipped over this, reading Ajah's The Way of Liberation. But this is just perfect. This is a guide to waking up from your imagined status as a person to what you really are. The teachings contained within the book are a condensed version of my core teachings, and in order for the teaching to have any effect, you must apply it with utmost dedication. Be forewarned. Applying these teachings may be damaging to your beliefs, disorienting to your mind, and distressing to your ego. From the perspective of waking up to reality, these are good things and are to be cultivated. From the perspective of ego, they are to be avoided at all costs. The choice is entirely yours. The personhood is maintained and of all of the beliefs that there are different powers in the world, not just one power, not just one creator, manifestors, good manifestors and bad manifestors, all the oppositions. It's maintained this false sense of self that is like whitewashed over the reality is maintained through all the division. And the cornerstone, the foundation, is I am not worthy. I am separate. I am apart. I am not of. The personhood necessarily feels scared and guilty It's never going to live up because deep inside, kind of exiled to the realms of unconsciousness, is the knowing of what one is, and then the false self trying to be that. You know, you maybe have a more clear transparency of personhood than I do, but this personhood would find it very difficult to extend a personal sense of love to somebody who's breeding children for child pornography. Like, I just don't know that Jennifer Tyler would go, oh, I just love them. That's God's business. God is. Please forgive me. I know not what I do. We know not what we do. We know not what we do. Please forgive us. We no longer need to see reality this way. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Forgiveness. Yes, I know there's the whole thing that there's nothing to be forgiven. And it brings up a sense in the ego that, oh, I'm a bad person. And now Jennifer's preaching that we've got to save our souls and all of that. I get it. I get it. I get it. Brings up the idea of badness in me. There's only one problem. We don't have to face any other challenge that other than the false self, the sense of separation. That's it. It is the spinner of illusion and horror, deprivation, lack, all of it, disease, disharmony, brutality, violence, war. It has one root. And we're really challenged by this. I'm here. I am, because it's amazing. Oh my God. Maybe it won't be for you, but here it's like fascinating, amazing, the depth of allegiance. Maybe you'd call it addiction, I don't know, mesmerization, hypnotism of I must resist the badness. I must resist all the bad stuff. Because if you just don't resist it, it will just grow like a cancer. I must resist it with healing treatments. I must resist it with, prayers to God. I must resist it with, whatever it is. That is acknowledging its existence. As a reality. I hope with all my heart that the words are not spinning a dream called denial of circumstances, denial, repression, suppression. I'm not spinning that world. That is not the same thing, and not the point of this teaching, and is not the same thing as the recognition of what is. actually what is. I'm not a person who is blind to all of that. I've walked in some really deep trenches. Horrifying. Dr. Hugh Lin sitting at his desk, the stack of horror, making a decision, like God just says in his intro, making a decision to meet that horror from someplace other than good and bad. To meet that horror with, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and then bring in the divinity. I love you. Love is. And all of the actuality, which is the humanity, not the false self, but the humanity, the divine humanity, like the divine flower, like the divine orange kitty, like the divine whatever, the divine humanity woke up out from under the influence of the false self and all that it can perpetrate. Those folks woke up. Joel Goldsmith, same thing. I mean, his list is long, thousands of people living in deep, horrific, deep horror. And his capacity for be still and know. Be still that I am, that I am, that I am. Be still was enough that it was an avenue for is. An avenue for is. An avenue as is. This is a lifelong contemplation here. I mean, maybe it's going to start coming, overnight for peeps coming onto the planet. Or maybe it's just not that hard for some people. I don't know. I see the false self, though. I mean, it's like we somehow, and it's not my business to know the whys. I have no idea. I don't have the time or the relevance to conjure up all the why, but somehow we've localized the actuality, the reality in like key figures like Krishna, Buddha, Christ, and I'm sure women, but we don't have any examples because they were in the kitchen nursing the babies, gently rowing their boats down the stream. But we've localized it in these, figureheads that were absolutely illumined, walking and living as ultimate reality. And then sounds like a really tall order, but what are we doing if not that? Entertaining ourselves with retreat, entertaining ourselves with the books, entertaining, I don't know. I mean, one psychiatrist in Hawaii sat down and just, this consciousness is the same consciousness as in the stack of that those folders of hoard. There is no difference. And I'll just take responsibility for it and relax into divine reality, forgiveness, love, harmony. The appearance can be really strong, is why I think those anecdotal stories came forward for this particular talk, because it can be very strong. I remember Byron Katie talking about how after the revolutionary nuclear shift that she had, we read a little portion of that, her undoing creation, gnashing of teeth, just the redemption of the false self through and as that open avenue. But I remember her telling, oh, I know where this story came from. We had a friend of the Sangha. She was part of the Sangha for many years, a beginning found whatever charter member. And she went to 2 of Byron Katie's 28-day. You give up everything. When you walk in there, you give up your phone, your watch, your clothes. Giving up and giving way is the only thing you do. And she didn't care about liability or anything like that, because she had no sense of the false self anymore at all, Byron Katie. And she would take these folks and like drop them downtown LA in the ghettos. Find what actually is. And she herself would walk around, and she would she told this story about being confronted by somebody with a gun. And she just looked at him and said, I love you, sweetheart. You don't want to do that. And they just kind of walked on by. I'm not saying that that's, I'm just illustrating that there are living, breathing examples. Walking, talking human beings. Byron Katie has a husband. She has children. She has grandchildren. She goes to the Grand Canyon for vacation. She is, as is, embodied. Yeah, those stories that Lisa used to tell about those 28-day Byron Katie things, she doesn't do it anymore. Byron Katie doesn't do it anymore. I might be tempted. We're wild. So let's say some piece comes in. It's generally around our violence and war and rejection of ourself. I mean, this crowd is not out there, committing heinous atrocities. We're sitting in a silent retreat. We've got these silent wars within that are mainly aimed at us, myself. I'm so terrible. In some way or another, I'm the worst person here in this crowd. Okay, so that comes in. Some sense of it, or some sense of something that you just can't bear. You can't bear it. Remember the heart of what you know to be true as is right now. Be it awareness, I amness. I don't know how you will find it, remember it, relax with the attention into it. Like begin to orient the attention towards it, into it, enter. Feel it in the body. Oh, it's right there. Lower third chakra or whatever. Today, here, in this experience, it's boom, solar plexus. Okay, there it is. I take my seat. I am that. I am that. Then the rewiring begins and the stillness overcomes. And something will arise, like Ho'oponopono arose here with no prior knowledge or understanding. It was just oh, I'm sorry. I know not what I do. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. And not from a place of Jennifer's manufacturing, not through the belief systems of a lifetime of Jenniferness and reactivity and all that stuff. Arising from this willingness to sit as that. Quietly, silently, stilly. No referencing of the historical past. Now. Now. And the more that that is attended to, the greater capacity, the rewiring begins to fluidly, effortlessly be as that, be as is, receiving, communing, responsively agreeing immediately, like not like an emergency immediately, but just in the sense that all the great masters have, everyone comes forward that now is the only thing we got. Now is the only thing we got. There is no other time and place other than in an abstract fantasy. That is fun because in a human life, we like to experience time and space. We like the linear thing. We can have a lifetime. Cool. But that lifetime is only ever this holy instant. I remember Adriana one time, I was gardening, she was sitting there watching me because she didn't like to help. She'd be like, "That's your thing, mother." She was just kind of keeping me company. And she said, "Mom, have you ever noticed that the only place you can really ever do anything is right now?" And I was like, whoa. Well, I wasn't thinking about it right now, but yes, that is true. What a grace. This whole idea that the whole historical past has to weigh upon the right now is bullshit. Test it out. It's totally made up, total fantasy. Not to say that we don't get to have an experience of time and space. Evidently we do. But what are we doing with that privilege?
So it's a deep contemplation. It's at the root and the heart of the predicament we find ourselves in, this insanity that is appearing as real. And each and every heart here, there's no doubt, each and every heart here at a gathering such as this is wondering how to be of benefit. Of course, we're wondering how to be of benefit. We probably never assumed that it would mean the dissolution of everything we thought we were to really have any kind of effect at all. But I'm glad we're not alone. Here we are together. Be still. Be as is. The is that is, not the is that is falsely appearing. Okay. Thank you.